Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for September 14th. September 14th is the 257th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 258th in leap years, with 108 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is Memento Mori. Memento Mori literally means remember you must die. Even though it presents as a statement, it serves grammatically as a noun to describe the images associated with the idea, such as depictions of skulls, and may or may not also include imagery of bones, skeletons, an hourglass, a coffin, sometimes a burning candle or a flower, perhaps a butterfly or a moth, a pocket watch. Any of these might be part of the imagery of Memento Mori. But whatever else one might find in a depiction of Memento Mori, there's nearly always at least a skull. I don't think the motif started with the early American Puritan settlers, but as they in particular were very aware of death and what may possibly await them in the afterlife, they included Memento Mori on their tombstones to remind the living that death was inevitable and hopefully reminding them to keep on the straight and narrow. That's the important thing, to remember that we are mortal so that we can make the best use of the time we have right now. The concept has been around for a long time. The term memento mori comes to us from Latin. First known use of the phrase is in the 1500s. Memento mori. Memento mori was requested by one of my viewers. Thank you so much. Fascinating topic. If you have a word you'd like us to explore in this Word of the Day section, drop it in the comments. We'll take a look at it. And with that, we're going to start in the year 81 AD, when Domitian became the emperor of the Roman Empire upon the death of his brother Titus. With rare exception, Roman emperors served as emperor to the end of their days, and Domitian was no exception there. Domitian strengthened the economy of the empire, made himself popular with the people and the army. Domitian believed that the Roman Empire was to be governed as a divine monarchy with himself as the benevolent despot at its head. He may have been a bit of a micromanager, getting involved in everything he personally could. The Roman Senate came to resent Domitian and felt that he was a tyrant and assassinated him 15 years into his reign in the year 96. You may have noticed that every day I mention what day it is in the Gregorian calendar. Before the Gregorian calendar was the Julian calendar, proposed by Julius Caesar in 48 BC, which replaced an earlier Roman calendar. I must say that I'm impressed enough that they were able to figure out that whole 365 days in the year and then 365 and a quarter days for the Julian calendar back at 46 BC. The Julian calendar served for over 1600 years. But then in the 1580s, Pope Gregory recommended another refinement to the calendar, a modification so slight I still can't imagine how they figured it out, changing from a calculation of 365.25 days around the sun to 365.2425 days around the sun, a difference of 0.0075 days, less than 11 minutes per year. They did, though, and the Gregorian calendar was introduced in 1582. Bit by bit began to be adopted. That said, the British Empire adopted the Gregorian calendar on September 14th in the year 1750. In the process, they skipped 11 days, as the previous day had been September the 2nd. And we thought daylight saving time was confusing. President William McKinley died on September 14, 1901, after being mortally wounded 8 days earlier by deranged anarchist Leon Czolgosz. Then Vice President Theodore Roosevelt stepped up to take the presidency. The first commercial computer to use disk storage, the IBM 305 RAMAC, was announced to the public on September 14, 1956. RAMAC, by the way, stands for Random Access Method of Accounting and Control, and was designed to provide real-time accounting in business. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, better known as OPEC, was founded on September 4th, 1960. Today's song is I Shot the Sheriff by EricClapton, number 1 on September 14th, 1974. The song was written and originally released by Bob Marley in 1973, and there's a whole story around that, but we're talking today about Eric Clapton's cover of the song. So many people over time have stood on the beaches marveling as the tsunami of addiction overtook them, and it seems this was a particularly notable problem in the 1970s. Beyond that, really, but we're talking about 1974 right now, and I imagine successful music artists were especially prone to this, given the lifestyle and all. Hats off to the ones who survived, sobered up, and got clean, because there sure were plenty who didn't, and we've mentioned some of them before. Eric Clapton struggled with addiction himself and didn't get much of anything at all done during that time. As he came out of that fog, he realized he'd wasted 3 years and started looking into getting back into the studio. His manager rented a place for Clapton to live in Golden Beach, Florida, not far from the Miami studio, and the address of that rental was 461 Ocean Boulevard. 461 Ocean Boulevard. The album bearing that name was recorded from April to May of 1974 and released in late July, shortly after the single I Shot the Sheriff was released. As much as everyone loves Eric Clapton, I'm sure you'll be as shocked as I was to learn that this was his only U.S. #1 single to this day. I Shot the Sheriff by Eric Clapton, number 1 on September 14th, 1974. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that is called No Really. And you can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Oh, get your microphone. Okay. Phone over there. Hello. Okay. With 202 days remaining to the end of the world. End of the year. Please, not the end of the world. 202 days remaining to the end of the year. Let's read that one again. Maybe I should ask Google how to pronounce that.
How do you go about pronouncing his name? Paulo Coelho.
Coelho.
Paulo Coelho. Pretty straightforward once you know. Paulo Coelho.
Google is so smart. Yep, it is. That's what it's called. All right. Attracting. Just read the whole thing over. You know what? Maybe we can leave that one off. Don't alienate people who can be helpful to you. Flinging happiness all over the place. I don't know. Can I get this edited? Let's find out. Alrighty. Back to work. I think we got it this time.